There's been an overwhelming outpouring of love and solidarity for the community at the centre of Saturday's mass shooting at a synagogue in Pittsburgh. No shortage of offers of help and support like this.
We just want to know what you need. If it's more money, let us know. If it's people outside your next service, protecting you, let us know. We'll be there. If you need organizers on the ground, Engage will provide them. If you need anything at all, if you need food for the families, if you just need somebody to come to the grocery store because you don't feel safe in this city, we'll be there, and I'm sure everybody in the room would say the same thing. We're here for the community.
The man making that heartfelt and generous offer is Vause Muhammad, Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Islamic Center. On the fundraising side, two non-profit Muslim groups, one called CelebrateMercy, the other MPower Change, started a crowdfunding website on the day of the shooting, aiming to raise $25,000. They reached that target in 6 hours. Listen, 24 hours later, they hit their next goal, $50,000, then $75,000. Then they blew through $125,000, then $150,000, and then they said, hey, we're good, posting this. We're currently assessing whether any more funds are needed for the victims' families, but we are keeping this campaign open. Any leftover proceeds from the campaign after dispersing funds to victims' families will be spent on projects that help foster Muslim-Jewish collaboration, dialogue and solidarity. They added this: please consider donating to help other victims of a recent hate shooting in Kentucky. Tarek El-Messidi is the founder of Celebrate Mercy. He is with us from Chicago. Tarek, thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
It has been such a bleak and depressing few days with the news, but amid all of that darkness, this offer of help from the Muslim community and all those who've donated, it seems to be that sort of flicker of light that just refuses to be put out.
Yeah, we're in really troubled times, and both the Muslim community and the Jewish community have felt so threatened over the past couple of years with all the bigoted rhetoric, sometimes racial profiling. There's just so much otherizing going on right now of so many different minority communities. So we felt like, what better way to show and to really display our shared humanity, especially because Muslims and Jews are really like Abrahamic cousins. We have we have a very similar theology and a shared history, of 1,000 years worth of collaboration and working together. There's an amazing Muslim-Jewish history, before the mid-1900s, which is pretty amazing. So we really wanted to reach out first and foremost as human beings, as fellow believers in faith and Abrahamic cousins, and try to help alleviate some of the burden of what they're going through.
In situations like this, let's be honest, money is always helpful, but what really struck me was the offer from Vause Muhammad from the Islamic Center for Muslims to stand outside temple and act as security, to go to the grocery store just to be there. When it comes to bridging divisions in this country, that's the sort of action which is what is needed right now, and it's not what we're seeing from the current administration.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that it's almost like an ecosystem of hate has been created since the presidential campaign, and it's emboldened some of these extremists to take to take up arms. And what could be lower than going and attacking people for what they believe, and what could be even lower than attacking them in what should be a sacred, safe space, the safest places in America, places of worship. And what's even lower than that is going after people who are elderly. So it was the lowest of the low. And I feel like a lot of this rhetoric, words matter. A lot of this rhetoric is emboldening extremists, white supremacists, and others to attack anyone that looks different than them, to attack people they don't know, that probably they've never met, that they have stereotypes against. It's horrific.
Words matter, but actions matter more. And this is not the first time your group, Celebrate Mercy, has stood in support of the Jewish community. Well, it was last year. You raised money to help repair Jewish headstones which have been vandalized and destroyed.
Yeah, a lot of this is inspired by what we feel is the core teaching of our faith and core teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is to be merciful to people and to respond. And if there is evil, if there is someone that treats you wrongly, to respond with a better action, to take the high road. The Quran says to repel evil with that which is better. And something that really inspired us last year when the cemeteries were vandalized and this year again was one story of when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sitting down with his disciples. And when he saw a Jewish funeral procession passing by him at a distance, he stood up from where he was sitting. And some of his disciples said, "Why are you standing up? It's merely a Jewish funeral. It's not a Muslim funeral, so there's no need to stand up and pay your respects." His response was so beautiful. He said, "Is it not a human soul? Is it not a human soul?" And so really at the core of this is our shared humanity. And we wanted to reach out as human beings, first and foremost, to our brothers and sisters in humanity and help them out, to help lift some of this burden from them.
Yeah, we like to think of this shared humanity, but at the same time, all the numbers point to this big increase in hate crimes, not just against Jews and Muslims, but other minorities as well. So, how do you explain this? I mean, how do you see the causes of this increase?
Well, I just think every group has their extremists. There's Muslim extremists, there's Jewish extremists, there's white extremists, there's extremists in every category you can think of, But the question is there extremism being normalized or not? Are the fans being flamed of that extremism? And I would argue that the political rhetoric over the last couple of years has fanned the flames of hatred towards towards many minority groups in America. But while there are crazy people out there, there are nutcases, there are extremists. There's a lot more good in people than there is bad. And the fact that this campaign, hit its goal in just a few hours, and we started it Saturday afternoon. By the time I went to bed on Sunday night, we had hit $100,000. It was raising, $1,000 every 20 minutes. That says a lot about people. And it's not just Muslim donors, by the way. We estimate that about a third of the people donating are not Muslim, many of them Jewish. It's become really an interfaith effort, and people of all faiths or no faith are contributing. So that says a lot about what America is and what humanity can be.
From your lips to God's ears. Tarek, thank you for being a bright spot in a pretty bleak couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.